Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Phase podcast here. Today, we have some awesome guests. We're in the previous phase of the show. It's going to be our first segment with our guest today, Joe Krier, one of the tournament organizers and judges for the Cherokee Open Frontline Gaming event, and one of the multiple time winners for multiple best Chaos Factions ITC champions. So very excited to have Joe here. Our other guest, Andrew Simmons, fantastic major community organizer and leader over in the East Coast. And he's also one of the TO judges for the Cherokee Open run by Frontline. And we greatly appreciate Joe. Andrew's been a longtime supporter of this podcast and this channel. So thanks, gentlemen, for coming on today. We really appreciate having you, especially because Joe's in the middle of a move. So we appreciate your time, guys.
Yeah, man, no problem. Always good to support friends, right?
Absolutely. We appreciate that for sure. So, last show we talked a lot about the Old Town Throwdown, what the meta was looking like last month, events coming up. So now, this is going to be nice because you guys are our first East Coast guests. Since we've kind of rebooted the show, we've had mostly West Coast people. So we're eager to hear. Maybe we'll start with you, Joe. Armies are winning games right now, and why?
Start with me. Armies that are winning games. So, I mean, a lot of the stats that have been coming out has been kind of thrown under the bus, like quite a lot, because not only is Bill Souza like trashing meta tier, like meta lists that are supposed to be like not good. Now we have Gavin doing it. We have Emma coming in with Adepticon like about a month ago, with Rock Coven going 4-1. Like there's a whole bunch of people that are running kind of just like off the wall things and doing all right with them. And now with like the Craigie, like the Cragnos update and a few other things, like there's some legs for a lot of armies to start like coming through. But
yeah, Andrew, what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100% agree with Joe on that one. If you look at the Ziggy stats, AoS stats from Honest Wargamer over on the Twitters or website, wherever he has it, with the balance update that came out with the Hunters and the Predators, I guess, of units that you get bonus points from, a lot of people have tooled out their list and the stats have changed. I think they pointed as 3.2 or 3.11. And yeah, just looking at those stats, you can see the Stormcast are still on top, but a lot of people have their names, and Bone Splitters are hunting them, Skaven are hunting them, Legion of the First Prince, a lot of Death players. You put Nagash in the Night Haunt list, and they're now going to be hunters with how much D3 mortal wounds can Nagash put out?
9.
Yeah, that's definitely scary for sure.
Yeah, so that's definitely been a big shift that we have seen happen recently, and that will develop in the next month or so.
And do you think that's going to be more regional as it develops and slowly get out to the US, or is it going to stay kind of in pocket areas?
No, I think I'm already seeing it throughout the world. I know those rules will be active in the Worlds events happening in the over in Europe this month with the Worlds teams. So I know a lot of people have been building their lists with those rules in mind. So yeah, I think it's going to happen overnight. If it hasn't already, I know it's changed my lists all around. The GT that I'm going to next weekend, I changed my lists.
Sure, absolutely. And I know.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, my Stormcast list changed, but I think what a lot of people are going to be doing, especially towards the more competitive list, is that they might drop a Prime Hunter unit, or sorry, a Prime Target unit, just to take a unit that can take Prime Hunters from other people, or Prime Targets from other people. So like in my list, my LVO list was 3-pack to 2 dragons, a 4-pack of fulminators. And the only thing that changed, and then Guard of Steel Soul, the only thing that changed from then till now was I dropped a unit of dragons, and I think like Other Wings or something like that, to add in 10 Judicators, and then the Thunderbolt volley, in order to use the Judicators to take my opponent's prime targets while the dragons just kind of harass them. And it's worked out very well since.
That's awesome. Yeah, you are not the first person we've heard talk about the transition to Judicators from the Raptors. So I would be remiss if we didn't take the advantage of your guys' experience with the Cherokee Open to talk a little bit about that and what you saw there and what you were thinking about that event.
Yeah, the one thing to note for the Cherokee Open was that so the Hunter Extra VP wasn't happening at that time, but the new Kragnos War Scroll was, and we had a very heavy destruction meta at the Cherokee Open.
Yeah, I didn't actually check, but I think out of 50 people, there's probably at least 10 destruction, if not more, 15 maybe.
Yeah, I think
it was at least
the
the fourth. It was around the fourth. So yeah, and most of them are Kragnos for sure.
Yeah, because you're seeing Kragnos with the big yellers, you're seeing Kragnos with Gits, Kragnos with the Ogres, Kragnos with the Beastclaw Raiders because they get the 3d6 charge and all those mortal wounds.
And we had perhaps the first Kragnos with Bone Splitters there.
That's right. Yeah, our top destruction player had that. He crushed it.
That's awesome. That's a pretty big difference for sure. And seeing that Kragnos can help elevate those other factions a little bit, definitely is good. Did those lists perform well against dragons? And obviously they didn't have the Prime Hunters thing, but now that that's even a rule now too, do you think that'll help with the pairing?
I actually don't know what the Dragons hit in a bunch of their matchups, but Dragons did take first overall or best general there, and then I think the top four was Stormcast with Dragons, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and then Stormcast again, but it was more infantry based.
We had John Anderson with his Idoneth also up there in top 5.
Yeah,
nice, and that's old Idoneth too.
And actually, that was a big part of the Cherokee meta was the rules for the thralls with the extra shooting. That was like the first big GT that had those rules in play as well. So it was pre-Codex or Battle Tome, but it still had the new rules because it dropped in that half and half box.
Right. Yeah.
Theory of the Deep,
true.
I think.
Yep.
What do you guys think about Adepticon results? Not going into any of the drum. Sorry, that was loaded. So not going into any controversies that may or may not.
I'm going to prime my answer with a lot has already been said about Adepticon that I don't think needs to be repeated.
Yeah, let's focus on maybe just army list specifically.
Yeah,
no one knows.
And the results were dropped. No, the results were dropped today. The lists.
Yeah, but
are
no one
not
knows
available.
what the army lists were.
That is true.
So
yeah,
I could tell you my list, but I already did. And other than that,
that's right. You were there. I wasn't there.
Yeah,
So
I had a
maybe
few
you
friends
more insight.
that played, so I can maybe go over their lists. But I mean,
well, I know Emma. I think at one point posted her Nurgle list on
with the
Twitter,
Rock Coven,
and I think it's interesting to see kind of the Nurgle shift adjustment, the other meta changes with the War Scrolls. And I guess I'm asking maybe out of anecdotal experiences for you, Joe, what you saw in your matchups and pairings at Adepticon.
Well, I ran into 2 Seraphon players. The first one was my one and only loss. The last round, and then last round again, I hit Seraphon. Their lists haven't changed much, and I don't think they will with the prime targets. We might not see, what is it, like 10 to 15 salamanders anymore. But even if you did see 10 to 15 salamanders, they're probably tabling you very quickly. So like, you probably won't see them as much, but you should never feel like you won't see them. Distillodons still put in just like the same amount of work that they need to. The 5 games that I had were, what was it? Cruel Boys.
Win path.
Yeah, so Cruel Boys, win, Seraphon loss, Legion of the First Prince against a guy that drove all the way from Orlando. I think he drove from Orlando with Legion of the First Prince. And then round 4 was Beastclaw Raiders, Ogres, and then round 5 again was Seraphon for me.
Wow, a lot of Seraphon. So
yeah. And then not a single. Then I don't think any Seraphon made it. Oh no, one did make it to the top. Sam Gold from 2019 Team USA was again 401-5-0 with a Seraphon there. So
yeah, okay, nice. Andrew, I know you didn't make it to Adepticon. Any other insight for like big events, RTTs, GTs on the East Coast in the last month, other than the Cherokee you want to talk about?
I'm gonna say East Coast. There's been a lot in the New England area. I'm trying to remember some top stuff that's been going on there. I know for a lot of Nurgle's been played. Legion of the First Prince. A few of us are teching into Skaven, or we're just getting excited for Skaven models that are being revealed. Those of us who haven't done the 3D printed versions.
It sounds like Deepkin's coming up pretty hard in that area too.
It has, yeah, Deepkin, because of course we have Sergio in our meta, and Sergio is phenomenal with the Deepkin. Deepkin with dragons, I think, is still what he's rocking.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I would say the East Coast meta is pretty representative of the Midwest, the West Coast, Europe.
Sure.
Nothing really has changed outside the norm that I've seen.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, so as we just heard from our guests, they talked a lot about how great Destruction has seen a boost from the help of Kragnos, and how they've seen kind of the East Coast, West Coast meta, stories are not as accurate, and how it's just still one big evolving meta. Really interesting to hear them go into that further as we move on into the current phase, which we'll be back for in just a second. All right, welcome back to segment 2. We're in our current phase, in your current phase. We're going to be talking about how to deal with the current meta at game nights and tournaments and events that you got coming up the next week, the next 2 weeks, getting ready to roll some dice and succeed. And with us again, Andrew Simmons and Joe Krier, awesome TOs and community leaders on the East Coast, and TOs for the Cherokee Open, Frontline Gaming's event, and we're here to pick their brain about, well, let's start off with the first and easy one. How do we win today, guys?
Play games.
Play
And then
games.
if you lose, just play again. And if you lose again, play again. If you lose again, play again. That's like, for one of my, not to jump right into it, but for one of my, or at least for a couple of my Patreons, like, or patrons, that's been like a big thing, is just getting reps in. Like, you can change lists and play lists all day long, but like, as long as you have to do the reps over and over again.
Joe, can you give us your Patreon information so listeners can check it out?
Titan Wargaming on Patreon. It's just a one-on-one coaching service. I used to get a lot of questions. I still get a lot of questions about how to run lists that I play or lists that are out there. So I just, I turned that into a reason to start just like doing actual like coaching instead of yelling into the Facebook void or Twitter void on how to do things. I play enough, I've seen enough that, my time's worth it. You know what I mean? So
sure. Well, Joe's an excellent player, and even though he's known for chaos, I think anyone would benefit probably from hearing from his point of views about any army list. So awesome. So okay, so let's get into like a little more into details, maybe about exactly how do I deal with the current meta, right? We went in a little bit of how it's transitioned last segment, seen a little more destruction. How, Joe, you talked about, and Andrew, both of you, how you've had to change your lists given the new kind of update with the battle scrolls. And what does that look like? Maybe Andrew, could you start us off with that?
Sure. Yeah, the definitely what Joe was saying is get your reps in with as many like competitive reps as possible. the practicing your deployments is going to help you better than practicing your list writing skills, in my opinion. The game is still scoring secondaries and denying secondaries of your opponents. That's always going to get you further along in all your games. Also, that's depending on how your TO is scoring their tiebreakers and such in the events. But yeah, the biggest question in the current meta is asking if you are going to be a hunter or if you're going to be a predator, or at least having somewhere in your design of your list or going into an event knowing you're going to have to go up against some storm drakes. How are you going to deal with it? It's very similar to where we were early 3.0 with the giants. You had to go in with a mind state, can you kill a giant? Or can you, in this case, take the hit from dragons? Yep. Because not only can you survive it, that lets you have the models, the tools on the table to play the mission. It'll also, if you can deal with them, it gives you bonus VP if you're teched in such a way.
Yeah, and taking the hits from the dragons too, there's been like not only do you need to be able to do the damage against giants, you also need to take into account that there's a reason that these prime targets and are worth extra points is because they are that good. And they in and of themselves change the shape of the game. So you need to be able to don't be ashamed to take prime targets because
they're good.
There's a reason why they're that good, or there's a reason why they're pointed that way, and they give you more points when they're killed is because before they're killed, they're gonna do enough damage to potentially just win you games outright.
Definitely changes the board state. The other obvious thing I would say for being prepared for the current meta is knowing what missions you're playing. Because I know floating around, there are different missions to be played. As an RTT last weekend, where we were playing the Warhammer weekly missions that Tyler wrote up. And I had never seen them before, but they were fun to play. And they're very similar to what you would read. But yeah, this is always something to keep in mind is know what you're walking into when you're going to either GT or RTT is what rules are being played, what missions are going to be played, the obvious read your packet.
Yeah, and every single TO will be like, did you read the packet? And every single player will say no. So please read your packets. I'm terrible at it, even at all the events that I go to. But it's just important. Like you need to
That might be some of the best advice we've heard yet on this maybe any podcast, right? It applies to all games. Read your flipping packet.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Read the packet, right?
Yeah, just be prepared for anything. Know your meta. Because you can build I didn't know that we were gonna have a hero scoring mission, and the second mission it was and only small heroes could do it, and I just had 3 little rats. No, I had 2. I had a Grey Seer and an Arc Warlock. That's all who could get me bonus points.
Yeah,
we have was it Prime Prey? The hero mission out of the GHB. We're doing that at a tournament this weekend actually, and my list only runs 2 heroes. I'm probably not changing my list at all, but it's tight, right? It's risky. You don't actually read the pack in advance and go, wait a second, I can't actually score this. This is the problem.
Yeah, and Joe, what are you playing nowadays? You can say what you're playing, then I'll say what I'm playing.
Yeah, so I'm still playing Stormcast. I've got the same list that I mentioned earlier. So it's Gardas. It's a Hollow Knight Stormcast with a Knight Draconis general. Gardas Steel Soul is the second hero. There's 10 Judicators in a pack. 1 pack of 10 Judicators with Skybolt bows. 2 packs of 2 dragons with swords. It's always swords, never lances. And then a 4 pack of Fulminators in a battle regiment because 1-drops are king.
Yes, they
not
are.
all the time, but the majority of the time, 1-drops are king. So.
How about you, Andrew? What are you running?
I was going into the horror spam list, but then that balance sheet dropped, and I was like, cool, I might give up 4 battle points for Kairos and my 3 horrors. And then I saw Skaven were hunters, and I had just received my commissioned Vermin Lord Deceiver from Oscar Lars. And I was like, I'm gonna play my new pretty models. And so yeah, I took the Vermin Lord Deceiver, made him Master of Magic to reroll his Warp Lightning Vortex, brought some Storm Fiends and some Chaff, put the snout gravel robes for the battle shock aura. So I just have a battle shock immune shooty castle. Oh, and my mortal wound slot machine. Can't forget, can't go home or can't go out without my warp lightning vortex.
There you go.
Because it's just great for soaking that overwatch for when a dragon wants to charge me. Cool.
Yeah.
I auto hit. Might do 6, might do 0. Don't know. Let's find out.
Or 12.
You can't overcharge in the charge phase.
Oh, gotcha. Fair enough.
What a hard.
But even then,
Yeah.
if they're still locked in combat with me, I'm sure as hell going to shoot them with my Ren 3 grenade launchers, my mortal wounds, and then the Vermin Lord comes out with his AP3 flaming weapon, 2s and 2s. I'm here to hunt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gnarly. I can't sleep on Skaven. So actually, with that too, I'm curious to hear your perspective, Joe. You kind of touched on this about the strength of the one drop is king, and then you said until it's not. And I'm curious, maybe one question I've had, and you guys touched on this a little bit earlier behind the scenes. I want to hear your thoughts on it now. What is it worth bringing Hunters of the Heartland if that means that you're giving up more drops?
Oh.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Andrew, I think I'll grab this one.
Yeah, you go first because I know
I want to hear both, but go first.
The fact that an all dragon army gives up, you're probably running 4 squads of dragons, or at least you're running 4 to 5 points worth of dragons. That army can still table most in 2 turns. So the fact that your opponent may get an extra point or 2 for killing a pack of dragons, when in reality, if you have 10 dragons, 11 dragons running across the table, they're probably only most lists will only be killing 1 out of 1 squad, maybe 2 out of the 4 pack, and that doesn't give you anything besides the generic monster points. But that list of 10 to 11 dragons will still table you. So they may be worth extra points, but they're going to take every point from you. So if you're not, most armies aren't going to be able to table them fast enough to get those points, and you have to table them to get those points. And so it's just the only reason why my list changed at all was to take a unit that could take points from my opponent, because prime targets can't take prime target points from other prime targets. So that was my thing at least, and then Andrew's. Yeah, and so I get the choice usually.
Yep.
Right.
That's where I was going to be at too. The being a 1-drop lets you, which I didn't say, but mine is also a 1-drop. I have my 1 monster and a lot of tech. It's just to have that, because if you give up priority of first turn, you're going to be in a bad spot on not just the dragon matchup, but there's a lot of other matchups. So yeah, that's why you want to do the 1-drop. And not only just to speak on the 1-drop really briefly, is there's an argument to go first or second. I always find going first as a 1-drop more beneficial, because I then get to break ties on the roll off from 1 into 2. But the argument,
you play Adepticon and you lose all of them. I think I won 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, there is one argument I will make for the Hunters of the Heartland, and that is if you are teching into a very defensive build. I'm thinking more on a teams building side of stuff right now, because with the Worlds happening next month, there's a few weeks. Yeah. So if you have a beefy unit such as Blight Kings or Horrors that you want to just be that little bit more defensive, because you can play 10-drop armies knowing you're going to have to take the hit, tech into that with Hunters of the Heartland, but you have to do it with the correct units as well. So that's the argument. I see people all the time at RTTs and GTs, they'll throw Hunters on just their min battle line units, where they're not going to get the full benefit of that tankiness.
When it could be Storm Fiends or Sharks, right?
Absolutely. Or even other dragons. I mean, if you're doing a Stormcast list that doesn't lean into the 1-drop, for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys' thoughts on that for sure. It makes a lot of sense. I think that there's a lot of value to what you brought about. I think the 1-drop, I myself run low drops. I think that there's a lot of value to them. Mine's 2, but I can try and get it to 1.
That's still good.
Yeah. It's I really appreciate you guys talking about the drops. I think that's a unique insight that we really haven't heard a lot about on this show. And practice. It makes a lot of sense for sure.
And like, if you're gonna run a list that's more than one drop, like I think armies like Deepkin and armies, like off the top of my head, Deepkin and Beasts can run armies that are more than one drop. You need the reps. Like maybe like if you're running like an army of all prime targets, you probably don't need the reps because the units, even like I'm running them, I understand. Like I don't have to win the games; they're just going to do it for me. But if you're running a high drop army, like you just have to play games over and over again.
Yeah, just know you're gonna take those hits and prepare for it. Build your screens, deploy off table if you're beasts or Ideneth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Well, given those highlights, focus on the number of drops. It's really great, insightful, and kind of a different idea than what we've normally talked about here. I really appreciate it, you guys. And listeners, stick around for the next phase of the In Your Phase podcast, and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back for the final phase of the In Your Phase podcast. For this episode, we're in your next phase. We're going to be talking about what you should plan for at upcoming events. Got our awesome guests back with us, Joe Krier, Andrew Simmons, some awesome top dogs that are helping run the Frontline Gaming event, Cherokee Open, and some fantastic chaos players and community leaders over on the East Coast. So we talked a little bit in previous segments about the up and rising of destruction a little bit and the adjustment of lists given the new battle tome adjustments on the war scrolls and the importance of trying to build one drop lists and understanding the limits of your list if you don't build a one drop list. And so we've talked about those ideas, and with those in mind, and I'm really curious to hear what new armies or units are you guys seeing on the horizon that you're excited for?
Andrew, what about you? Your local scene's a little more active than mine. I mean, mine's large enough, but
Yeah, I can take that real quick. Yeah, so my local meta is the Northern Virginia part of the East Coast. So from where I'm at, I can go south an hour or two to Richmond to the Battleground store, which is the best store I've ever been to. I can go to just down the road in Ashburn to the Huzzah Hobbies. I can go up to Pennsylvania. I can go up to Maryland. We have the new Game Castle in College Park. Go a little bit further up to the New Jersey, New York meta even. So yeah, I have a lot of places I can go and that I keep ears in and eyes on.
Nice.
And yeah, so things that it's a lot of what we've already talked about is if you have Kragnos, I've told this to all my friends, all the players that I talk with, bring your Kragnos out. It's his time to shine for the next 4 months. Throw him in any list. He's going to be great. If you're not
literally
running
anything. Doesn't matter.
anything.
It's
If you're not,
whatever. Go for it.
If you're not playing with Kragnos, you got to ask yourself, are you going to be a hunter trying to go kill dragons or the salamanders or whatever? It's mostly dragons, let's be honest. Or do you want to bring those dragons? Because there's a list. There's several ways you can bring dragons that are not old dragons, as they say. I said those are like the big things I see in the meta is people countering or being the meta, or mostly in my region, it's a lot of hobby. People are playing the factions that they've painted during lockdown. People are playing with the stuff that's new and coming out, all the new Soulblight Gravelord stuff. Gargants are still around, LRL. I'm trying to think what else has come out this year is essentially what I keep seeing in my local meta.
Beasts,
as well as
Beasts are finally back.
Beasts are coming out.
And they waited, boy.
They're finally back.
Ideneth. I forgot about Ideneth. We're seeing a lot more of those players coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over lockdown, one of the armies that I painted was a commission paint for a friend of mine, and he's actually over on the East Coast too. Ian Botts, what a lovely man he is, and I painted an all Dragon Ogre army for him, and he hasn't been able to play since, but like it was like 21 Dragon Ogres, so he's hyped, right? Like
They're real
like,
good. Rally on
3
4s.
Gorgons, the Herdstone, the whole 9, and it's just he can have as much fun as he wants at this point.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing. What about you, Joe, over in the Midwest?
Yeah, so my Minnesota scene is actually like the event scene for it is kind of low. We're having a 30+ person event. Little bit. I'll actually be just coming out of the event when this airs. So, probably making some public posts on how that went afterwards. But yeah, so that's gonna be a little bit over 30. But our RTTs, like the 1-day events, have been pretty sporadic and kind of lackluster in size. I think I had one a couple weeks ago that was like 4 people in Wisconsin, and there was one that was like 6, I think, like just before LVO. Maybe that one was 8. And it's just like it's just kind of getting fledgling going since kind of COVID restrictions have been lifted at least enough to go play again. And then because we had a pretty solid crew like before the world ended, and now we have like a bunch of new groups that have kind of like come out of the woodwork since, moved down from Duluth or whatever to the Twin Cities, all that kind of thing. And so we have like a bunch of little groups all together. So trying to, get the like ties into everyone and try to get them all together has been a little difficult, but we're getting there. So, and
that reminds me, call back to Cherokee. How many of those, we had a lot of guys and girls travel up from Georgia, and a lot of them, Cherokee was this was their first tournament since lockdown, or this was their first tournament ever.
Yeah.
So a lot of new
there was
players.
Some of that. There was some LVO boys too, but there was the Georgia crew. The Georgia crew is someone to look out for because they're coming in hot. And
they're all coming. Speaking of out of the woods.
Yeah. Well, so that actually segues great into our next discussion. And you talked a little about the armies, and so who are some players that are coming up that we should all be keeping an eye out on?
I'll take this first. The first thing I'm going to say is the same names that we've been seeing. Keep an eye out for all of them. Everyone that was like top 50 ITC last year, we're still playing, and I don't know if I can put me in there, but yeah. So a lot of the same names. A lot of the same names you're going to keep seeing. Who's that Beast of Chaos player on the West Coast? I know Ryan, right? Nuge. He's an up and coming player. Yeah. I know we have a return player from a lot of 40K people coming out of retirement, for at least where I'm at.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of the retirement crew, especially from 40K, is starting to kind of check into Sigmar, and now that the Harlequin meta in 40K is so crazy, they're like, wait, maybe I can play a weekend at in Sigmar, and then they come out of that going oh, well, I guess I'm playing this now.
That a name to look out for is Austin Wingfield, big 40K player based out of Richmond. He's doing both 40K and Sigmar out of the Battleground shop. He's a big name to watch out for. Who knows what will tickle his fancy on what he wants to play.
Yeah. Nice. I like all that. Well, that's not to steal it, but that's pretty much exactly what happened to me. So I think that is going to be becoming more and more common. It's a great game for sure. And it's got a lot of room to grow for sure. I think, and I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Joe Krier is a great name to watch out for too. Continual ITC, chaos, best chaos, and faction. So strong player for sure.
Yeah, Tom Guan coming out. He started playing last year, and he's just been rocking the scene.
And when you say coming out, he means to every tournament. It doesn't matter if you live in Hawaii. It doesn't matter if you live in New Jersey. It doesn't matter if you live in South Dakota. It's just going to be there. All right.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a big name to watch out for.
Totally. So, and I think too, one kind of unique spin is kind of how back-to-back AoS Worlds is this time around.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that I know has drawn the attention of certain players and given a little more room to grow in the ITC or shift up some new people, especially out of like the Texas meta or the back east meta for you guys.
I would say Marcella got into the Age of Sigmar at Atlantic City Open last year, and she's just been
that was her first
killing the
event, yeah.
scene. This is like her first year, and she's amazing, and she's on the Worlds team.
Yeah.
I know me and her actually played at Summer Slaughter when I had the Foxes, and that was, I'm sorry, Marcelo, that was not a great game for you, but she's killing it ever since. Like,
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
doing really well. And then Emma was going nuts too. Like, I think Emma was also kind of more like relaxed. At least I hadn't been to the West Coast a ton, or East Coast. Sorry, I hadn't been to the East Coast a ton to see her play a bunch. But at this point, like, they're both at the like on the Worlds team. So I mean, obviously, one won Adepticon, and then the other one, and they're like, and the other one's won a few events, maybe potentially local events, something like that, and then is also again on the Worlds team and is killing it out there. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of Prague in a couple weeks. So
yeah, a lot of new players.
Yeah, I think that's awesome to see. It means our hobby is healthy, growing strong, and that the data sheet update wasn't a problem, right? It wasn't a poison pill. It just made the game healthier. Do you guys have any thoughts about AoS Worlds? Like, who's bringing home the gold? I mean, obviously USA, but curious.
No, USA is taking second.
Wrong. America. Joe, all right, Joe, get out of here.
Look, I love my boys and girls, but like, it's been what, 3 years running second place. So like 2 years running.
So then, who's your first pick then, Joe?
Who won last year? Actually, I didn't even keep track. Was it England again, or who was it? Do we know? I don't know.
Not off the top of my head.
It doesn't matter.
America won in my heart.
Yeah, but I remember for my ETC experience, there's a few good, everyone that I met pretty much was all great people. I can only imagine that since then the skill has gone up. One thing too that like a lot of the world's teams have over us, like in the US, is just the size difference. So like their practice can be, like their teams could all be within, a city, like a city's parameters like of each other. They could all be within 10, 20 minutes of each other, versus us, like it's easily, if you're going to drive, like if you're driving, you could easily be 2 days away from each other, right? Like there's an amount of space to get to and like TTS helps, but it's not 100% like permittable, right? Like they're not exactly the same. They're close enough to practice, but like you really, especially as a team, need to be playing together.
Yeah, it builds the camaraderie. There's a whole physical aspect, even on the team building side of things. I agree with you, Joe. Yeah, the physical training together is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And those trips that we took. So like, if anyone else tries to get onto the Worlds team, which I would 100% recommend.
Yep, you can join the Worlds team, or even
definitely
the
go
team.
to, like, definitely make sure that you're going to hit those practice weekends, because the practice weekends are just a riot. All of them have always been. So
yeah. What's the Minutemen program that Team America has? Is this be active in your community, be a nice person, and put your application in? I know that they are always growing the Minutemen numbers, because I can say this, at least coming into this Worlds event, I think we had 2 members on the team that were good to go, but then last minute family situations came up, and we had a pool from the Minuteman roster who could go to Worlds this year.
Yeah, that's helpful. For sure, and important too.
It's definitely a great idea. Secret tech. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. Don't tell. Awesome. Well, guys, as we wrap up this podcast, any other thoughts you wanted to throw up there about any events that you may be working on or participating? Any thoughts with the Frontline plug or anything like that? for Cherokee Open?
Joe, you want to
Yeah.
go first? And then I'll say what I got.
Yeah, sure. I know there's the Spring Up GT from the Renegade Open team. They're starting. They've got 3 a year now. One's in the spring this coming weekend, last weekend from when you guys hear this. One in the summer. I think it's the same weekend as Summer Slaughter. So if you're not looking to fly out there and you're in the Midwest area, definitely check that out. And then the fall premier event, the Renegade Open, happens in November, the last weekend the weekend right before Thanksgiving. So if you don't make it to the invitational, the GW invitational, then that will be one to go to for sure. And then yeah, I think if you're going to be at any of the GW events, I'll probably see you. I think I'm hitting 3 this year is the plan.
Nice.
With Seattle, Chicago, and Kansas City. So if you're out there, I'll see you. And yeah, and definitely like if you're new and you're just like listening to this, trying to like see what it's like, just go to an event. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like there was some drama recently about some events. It doesn't matter. When you go to the event, at the event, it's great. And like, sure, there might be drama online afterwards, but when is there not? So like, just go to events and like all the frontline gaming ones. I think that Andrew's got a list of coming up, and then doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter who runs them. You could run them. Irrelevant. Just go to events. You'll have literally the best time. So.
Yeah. So at least locally for me, we have the Battlegrounds in Richmond, Virginia, has events every month. I believe we're going to be doing a
your Patreon one more time, Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, if you want to be able to find me, otherwise, and you want to talk list tech or talk the battle scrolls, whatever you want to talk about, deployment has been a really big one on my Patreon recently.
Yep.
Huge. Is Titan Wargaming, patreon.com/Titan Wargaming, Titan Wargaming. So
sorry, Andrew, I think I had a pretty gnarly internet lag there that cut you off.
You're good, man. Anyway, so what I was saying is Battlegrounds, Richmond, Virginia, monthly events. Regularly every month we're hitting 20 plus players for our RTTs.
So jealous.
I know, it's great. We're going to convert that over to a 2-day. I think in October is what George and Oscar are planning. If you're more in the Northern Virginia area, Huzzah Hobbies, the Grudge Hammer series from Garrett Mulroney, James O'Brien, and I think I'm helping Tio there eventually. So that's, again, another 20 plus, 30 plus player RTT that might turn into a GT next year in 2023. Nice. The Nova Open tickets are on sale now. There's an RTT on Sunday. The GT is Friday, Saturday, and then Top Cut Sunday. And then we have GTs up and down the East Coast. In Georgia, I think it's a Gamers something Bits is in Georgia, is the Atlanta, Georgia store. We have Fabricators Forge in Pittsburgh. We got Jersey, New York, all that crazy stuff. But yeah, I have a little blurb from FLG that they just want the listeners, the community, to know that FLG is committed to the AoS. They keep seeing us growing at every one of their events. They have the best TOs that run the events. Shout outs to me and you, Joe. And also the other two, or everyone else on this podcast, essentially.
Hey, Andrew, this is John Fuhrhelm, the producer of the show. I totally know that you're not going to forget to mention the Bay Area Open on May 28th and 29th at the KublaCon Gaming Convention, which is brought to you by Frontline Gaming as part of their ITC Open series. Whatever you do, do not forget to mention that. Oh, and I appreciate the shout out to me, of course, as a TO for Frontline. Anyways, Andrew, continue on, my friend.
Ben running the
Scott Reed.
Hammer.
Scott Reed's killed it at LVO.
Scott Reed is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Super proud of him. Glad he's around.
Yes, FLG recognizes that we have great support and they're always looking for more. So events that are running in your area, if you want to help the judge or be a judge, just reach out to Kicker at the events website or the events email. Premium tickets are now becoming a thing for Age of Sigmar players. So if you're a 40K player, you know what FLG premium ticket includes, now that we're hitting those numbers finally, they're going to be offered at the ACO for the first time.
Nice.
And yeah, FLG has been loving seeing the hobby, getting more pictures on the website. Submit your hobby tracker scores. I know we did not do that for Cherokee, but I know that going forward, I believe GW and FLG are trying to get the hobby track being really important because that's tied in with the whole GW events now.
It's always good to, and it's always good to support like other aspects of the hobby too, like whether it's painting, whether it's playing, sportsmanship, whatever. Like just it's good. So
yeah, and the next two FLG events are the Atlantic City Open, which tickets are on sale now. It's June 10th through the 12th, led by Martin Orlando, a phenomenal painter and community leader in the New York, New Jersey area. It's him and the Basement Wargamer guys, his co-judge. I might be popping in there Friday. I believe so, yeah. Yeah, I might
from
be
the
popping in
0
there
and 5
Friday.
podcast.
Yeah, the 0 and 5 podcast, where they go. They all grew up and had children. Anyways, yeah, I might be popping in there Friday, Saturday night, but I am not playing. And then the following FLG event is July 23rd and 24th. That's the Lone Star Open down in Texas, ran by Gavin Greiger and the Texas Meta, if you haven't heard.
Gavin's running it? Oh, man.
Gavin's the head judge for the Lone Star
Nice.
Open. Tickets are not on sale yet, but I know they'll be coming soon. And that's what I got from FLG.
Well, and I also want to pitch the Frontline Gaming's BAO coming up.
Yes, that's
And,
what's actually the next event coming up.
Yeah. May 28th and 29th. Technically the convention starts the 26th or 27th on a Friday, but great event down in San Francisco. I know they have great event running it. John Feuerhelm, great TO and supporter of the pod, producer of the pod. But it's a great event. Make it on down for sure. We love to see the numbers growing. And I will also be at the Seattle GW event too. So see all bodies there and nerd it up there too. But if you can hit the BAO, it's a great one. And I don't think there's a ton of other events that weekend too. So like if flights are cheap, we'll see. That'd be great. And I know for me personally, I know it's on the 40K side, but Jeff Robinson is a dear, close personal friend of mine, and always holds a special place in all our hearts. And it's kind of where Frontline started, and where kind of the ITC birthed out of, and all this nerd stuff blew up, right? I mean, that's indirectly a huge piece of nerd gaming history. But yeah, the last person, Jeff was the last 40K winner for the BAO, and it's a great memorial to him. And even though we're on the AoS side, I think a lot of us
we've all been touched by him.
I played him twice.
Yeah.
It's
a good time for sure. Great play. I always loved playing with him, and it was super fun to have him on a Cruise Hammer trip, and So anyways, make it on out. Go out and support your community and your events. Learn to be good community supporters like Andrew and Joe here. But we really appreciate you gentlemen coming on our show. We
anytime.
And we look forward to seeing you keep crushing the events on the table and on the background running them. We need great people running them. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming and listening to us today, folks. And we will see you next time on the In Your Phase podcast.
See you later, guys.